What's going on, everyone? So Donte Divincenzo was a real standout for the Golden State Warriors last year and gave them some really solid production, especially for a guy that didn't really get much recognition before that. You know, he was on Milwaukee for a couple years and then also on Sacramento for a year and wasn't really like that big standout like he seemed to be with the Golden State Warriors. He had better years with other teams, but it's probably also just the highlight of what the Golden State Warriors do, them kind of being short-manned for a good chunk of the year, and just kind of Golden State's just whole allure, right? But for Golden State this past year, he played in 72 games, 36 games he started. He played 26 and a half minutes per game, shot 44% from the field, 40% from three, on 5.5 attempts per game, and averaged 9.4 points, 3.5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds per game. So he basically was almost a 9-5-4 or a 10-4-5 guy, right? Like, that's pretty good at 40% from three. Again, a guy that did a lot of the dirty work, did a lot of the hard work for the Golden State Warriors. He was the guy that played either guard position. They used him in many defensive sets, allowed him to handle the ball, play off the ball, play on the ball, do a little bit of everything, right? And he had some solid games. He had that one 16-point game against the Lakers in the playoffs, and then he had another like 10-point game in that series. So again, just a role guy, rotation guy, a guy that if any team is interested in is just looking to bring him in as like a quality piece off the bench, right? He's probably not a starting level guy, but he does come from Villanova. He is hard-nosed. He is a guy that has experience and has been in the league for several seasons now. So he has a good understanding, a good grasp. Just he's not going to try to do too much. He's not going to try to, go above his means as a player and go beyond his boundaries. And that, I think, is valuable for many teams. Just a guy that can come in. He's still young enough and talented enough to provide some quality minutes. And it makes sense that there are reports that are coming out that the Los Angeles Lakers are interested in Donte Divincenzo. Of course, Lakers are going to explore all of their options because it's the Lakers. They want to upgrade. They were just in the Western Conference Finals. They're going to want to do whatever they can to find whatever quality pieces on a vet minimum deal, a mid-level deal, something along those lines. Donte Divincenzo fits that. 6'4", 203 pounds. He's still only 26 years old, so he kind of fits the Lakers' youth movement that they've really approached. And here's the report is they could make a push for Donte Divincenzo from the Warriors, depending on what they do with him. The GM told Heavy Sports NBA insider Sean Devaney he might command more than a taxpayer mid-level exception on the market, but he would be the right kind of guy, a shooter and ball handler off the bench. Now, here's the thing, though. I really don't think he's going to demand more than like the taxpayer mid-level. Because, again, yes, he's 26, but this isn't like some huge star, right? Like, who's paying Donte Divincenzo $10 million a year, especially with the new CBA? I think he is around a taxpayer mid-level guy. Because, again, the new CBA changes so many contracts. Before this new CBA, would Donte Divincenzo have gotten 10 to maybe 12 million a year? Probably. Because there probably would have been a team that would have overpaid him or given him a little extra money just to get him on their roster. Because that's just kind of how the NBA worked before that. But now, with the new CBA, it doesn't make any sense for a team, at least a contending team. Maybe, Houston or something like that sees him and goes, oh, yeah, we have money. Let's pay him for a year. Maybe he kind of gets like the JJ Redick treatment, where for 1 year he ends up getting a bigger contract than he would have otherwise, just because the team needs to get to the cap floor or something like that. It's like, well, Donte's young. He's kind of a need. This could make sense. This could work. Sure, that could be a possibility, but I just think in reality, any contending team that is looking for him to be a rotation guy and a piece off the bench, I just don't think is going to want to give him 10 plus million. Again, he was very solid. He's better than most bench guys in the league based on the production that we saw last season. But he also played pretty heavy minutes in a pretty significant role for the Warriors, right? Like, it wasn't one of those things where it was like, oh, he's just coming in, he's playing 5 or 10 minutes per game, and, he's just whatever production you get is just an add. No, I mean, he was a huge and real contributor for the Golden State Warriors. He was a very valuable piece for the Warriors throughout the season, playing big roles, playing big minutes. Does he do that on another team? Like, for example, the Lakers, because the Lakers are interested in him, right? Or based on what the report says, that a GM thinks that the Lakers at least should be interested in him. And, it does make sense, especially if you're losing. Let's say you're going to lose Dennis Schroeder, which is a very real possibility. Schroeder very likely could demand more money. The Lakers can only pay him 10% over the vet minimum deal. So would a team offer him the taxpayer mid-level, or maybe even a bigger contract? Because he was very good for the Lakers. Again, another guy that played a big role for the Lakers. So if you're losing him, Donte Divincenzo makes a lot of sense in that backup guard role as just another ball handler that can handle the ball. If the Lakers get, say, Chris Paul, right? There's all the talks and rumors of the Lakers potentially landing Chris Paul. If you get Chris Paul, the Lakers are probably going to trade D'Angelo Russell at that point. And again, if you lose Dennis Schroeder, now if you keep Schroeder, then there's not really a need for Donte, unless you just want him in the backup shooting guard role. I mean, if he's willing to come for a vet minimum, I think you sign him regardless, because it doesn't hurt, right? And he's better than most guys that you could get at a vet minimum deal. But again, if he's looking for a taxpayer mid-level to a full mid-level or something like that, it's just not going to happen, right? At least not for the Lakers. Lakers are probably looking at it as would he come to the Lakers for, the vet minimum or something like that? If you can get him on that type of deal, then that to me is a home run. But again, if you go and get Chris Paul, you end up trading D'Angelo Russell, and you lose Dennis Schroeder, DiVincenzo does make some sense. He makes a lot of sense, because then you could have DiVincenzo, your guard sort of rotation there could be DiVincenzo, Austin Reeves, Chris Paul, and then you'd still have LeBron James to kind of man that, and then whatever deal they make with D'Lo. My guess would be to bring in other needs, especially if they get a Chris Paul. So DiVincenzo makes sense either way, even with the roster currently constructed, if you're going to lose Dennis Schroeder. Or if you think he's a better player than Dennis Schroeder. I don't think so. I don't. Now, Dennis Schroeder is not great, but neither is DiVincenzo. So it just kind of comes down to who would you rather have, DiVincenzo or Schroeder, right? I would personally rather have Schroeder, because at least you know what you're going to get with Schroeder. DiVincenzo, what does he do in a role that's not 30 minutes per game? Can he be productive? Because the 2 years that he didn't, so in the previous year, again, he played 26. He played actually more minutes for the Sacramento Kings than he did for the Golden State Warriors. And he still was very productive and averaged 10 points per game. But if you look at with Milwaukee, he was playing 23 minutes one year and still gave you 9 points. But is he going to play 23 minutes for the Lakers a game? If he comes to the Lakers. Now, very likely he could. You had him in the Milwaukee in this first year, and he averaged 5 points and was only playing 15 minutes per game. Could you get that kind of production from him? 15 minutes per game, he's giving you 5, 3, and 3. That's kind of cool. Playing some solid defense, hard-nosed, getting after it, diving for basketballs, being a hustle player. I don't mind it. It just, again, what is the price? What does it come down to as price? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you want the Lakers to get DiVincenzo? Do you think no? Go look elsewhere. Again, to me, it only makes sense if you're going to lose Dennis Schroeder. He kind of coming in to replace Schroeder. Cool, that makes sense. But if you're losing Schroeder, or if you end up landing Chris Paul, then if you get rid of D'Lo and stuff because then at that point you have D'Lo, Chris Paul, LeBron still could play guard position if you need to, and Austin Reeves. You kind of don't have a need for a DiVincenzo. But unless, you look at DiVincenzo as he could be our 2 guard, so we have like that rotation of like say Reeves and Divincenzo. Then you got like Chris Paul and D'Lo. Okay, I guess, but then Divincenzo kind of becomes the odd man out. Kid, if he can be a vet minimum deal, right? If you're signing Divincenzo to a vet minimum contract and you want to bring him in regardless, cool. Like I really don't mind it. Again, 6'4", 26 years old, good size, can play some defense, knock down shots. Like that helps. This guy was a 40% 3-point shooter last year on almost 6 attempts per game. So, it's one of those things. So anyway, again, let me know your thoughts and opinions, however you feel. Whatever your thoughts are, you think the Lakers should do it? Love to hear it. Let me know.